black dog is a supernatural, spectral, or demonic hellhound originating from English folklore that has been seen throughout Europe and the Americas. It is unusually unnaturally large, with glowing red or yellow eyes, and is often connected with the devil as an English incarnation of the hellhound, and is sometimes an omen of death. It is sometimes associated with electrical storms, such as Black Shuck's appearance at Bungay in Suffolk, and also with crossroad barrows as a type of fairy hound, places of execution, and ancient pathways. Black dogs are generally regarded as sinister or malevolent, and a few, such as the Barghest and Shuck, are said to be directly harmful. Some black dogs, however, such as the Gert dog in Somerset, are said to behave benevolently as guardian black dogs, guiding travellers at night onto the right path or protecting them from danger. The black dog is a recognised folkloric motif. The origins of the black dog are difficult to discern. It is uncertain whether the creature originated in the Celtic or Germanic elements of British culture. Throughout European mythology, dogs have been associated with death. Examples of this are in Welsh, Norse, and in Greek mythology, all of whom were in some way guardians of the underworld. This association seems to be due to the scavenging habits of the dogs. It is possible that the black dog is a survival of these beliefs. Black dogs have been reported from almost all the counties of England, the exceptions being Middlesex and Rutland. Some of the better known black dogs are the Barghest of Yorkshire, Black Shuck of East Anglia. Other names are Hairy Jack, Padfoot, Skriker, Churchyard Beast, Shug Monkey, Capelthwaite, Muddy Goo, Hateful Thing, Swooning Shadow, Bogey Beast, and Guy Trash. Although the church grim is not a Barghest or Shuck, it can also take the form of a large black dog. On Dartmoor in southern Devon, the notorious squire Richard Cable was said to have been a huntsman who sold his soul to the devil. When he died in 1677, black hounds are said to have appeared around his burial chamber. The ghostly huntsman is said to ride with black dogs. This tale inspired Arthur Conan Doyle to write his well-known story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. In Lancashire, the black hound is called a Barghest, Grim, Guy Trash, Padfoot, Shag, Skriker or Striker, and Trash. Stories are told of a black dog in Twyford near Winchester. Galley Hill in Luton, Bedfordshire, is said to have been haunted by a black dog ever since a storm set the gibbet alight sometime in the 16th or 17th century. Betchworth Castle in Surrey is said to be haunted by a black dog that prowls the rooms at night. Black Dog Hill and Black Dog Halt railway station in Wiltshire are named after a dog which is said to be found in the area. A black dog is also said to haunt the Ivlet Bridge near Ivlet in Swaledale, Yorkshire. The dog is allegedly headless and leaps over the side of the bridge and into the water, although it can be heard barking at night. It is considered a death omen, and reports claim that anybody who has seen it died within a year. The last sighting was around 100 years ago. A black dog in Hertfordshire haunts the town of Stevenage near the Six Hills, a collection of Roman barrows, and Wormerley Wood. Cannock Chase in Staffordshire has long since had rumours of a black dog. The Hednesford Hellhound and the Slitting Mill Bastard, to name but two. Paranormal societies have investigated the phenomenon, particularly in the 1970s. A black dog was once said to haunt the main road between Bodmin and Launceston near Lincolnhorn, and during the 1800s a Cornish mining accident resulted in numerous deaths and led the local area being haunted by a pack of black dogs. The parish of St. Teith is haunted by a ghostly pack of dogs known as the Cheney Hounds that once belonged to an old squire named Cheney. It is uncertain how he or the dogs died, but on Cheney Downs the dogs are sometimes seen or heard in rough weather. From the Isle of Man is a tale of a guardian black dog that prevented the deaths of several men. A fishing boat was waiting in Peel Harbour for its skipper to command the crew on a night's fishing. They waited all night, but the skipper never came. In the early morning, a sudden storm sprang up in which the boat might have been lost. When the skipper rejoined his crew, he told them that his way had been blocked by a great black dog, and whichever way he turned, it always stood before him until he finally turned back. There are numerous unnamed black dogs in Guernsey, usually associated with place names derived from bait or beast. The Galley Trot of northern England and Suffolk is notable for not being black, although otherwise fulfilling the archetype. It is described as a large white dog with a shadowy or indeterminate outline and will chase anyone who runs away from it. The word is derived from galley, to frighten. A barghest is said to roam the snickleways and side roads of York, preying on passerbys, and is also said to be seen near Clifford's Tower. To see the monstrous dog is to be a warning of impending doom. A man who lived in a village near Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire would go each morning and night to milk his cows in a distant field. One night on his way there, he encountered a sinister black dog, and every night thereafter until he brought a friend along with him. When the dog appeared again, he attacked it using a yoke of his milk pails as a weapon. But when he did so, the dog vanished and the man fell senseless to the ground. He was carried home alive, but remained speechless and paralytic for the rest of his life. In Jersey, the Black Dog of Bully tells of a phantom dog whose appearance presages storms. The Chien de Bully is described as a monstrous black hound with eyes the size of saucers, and in some versions of the legend, a chain which it drags behind it, the sound of which is often the first warnings victims have of its presence. Although terrifying, it never does physical harm. Its appearance is said to herald a storm. The real reason for the superstition of the Black Dog of Bully Bay is thought to be due to smugglers. If the superstition was fed and became real to the locals, then the bay at night would be deserted and the smuggling could continue in security. The pier at Bully Bay made this an exceptionally easy task. A local pub retains the name the Black Dog. Another theory has it that the dog is an oral corruption of Le Chouan, a Jarret term for a French loyalist emigre, many of which took refuge in the island during the French Revolution, and the legend took off from there. Near the town of Lyme Regis in Dorset stood a farmhouse that was haunted by a black dog. This dog never caused any harm, but one night the master of the house, in a drunken rage, tried to attack it with an iron poker. The dog fled to the attic where it leaped out through the ceiling, and when the master struck the spot where the dog vanished, he discovered a hidden cache of gold and silver. The dog was never seen again indoors, but to this day it continues to haunt at midnight a lane which leads to the house called Hay Lane, or Dog Lane. Dogs who are allowed to stray in this area late at night have often mysteriously disappeared. A bed and breakfast in Lyme Regis is named the Old Black Dog, and part of the legend states that a man who discovered the treasure used it to build an inn that originally stood on the site. The Black Dog of Newgate has been said to haunt the Newgate prison for over 400 years, appearing before executions. According to legend, in 1596, Scholar was sent to the prison for witchcraft, but was killed and eaten by starving prisoners before he was given a trial. The dog was said to appear soon after, and although the terrified men killed their guard and escaped, the beast is said to have hunted them down and killed them wherever they fled. Grim or Fairy Grim is the name of a shape-shifting fairy that sometimes took the form of a black dog in the 17th century pamphlet The Mad Pranks and Merry Jests of Robin Goodfellow. He was also referred to as the Black Dog of Newgate, but though he enjoyed frightening people, he never did any serious harm. In the village of Northrop in West Lindsey district of Lincolnshire, the churchyard was said to be haunted by a barghest. Some black dogs are said to be human beings with the power of shape-shifting. In another nearby village, there lived an old man who was reputed to be a wizard. It was claimed that he would transform into a black dog and attack his neighbour's cattle. It is uncertain if there's any connection between the barghest and the wizard. The Black Dog of Preston is said to be a guardian of the city gates, appearing when danger threatens the town. It is a headless boggart who could howl nevertheless, and whose howl meant death, as also did its lying down upon a doorstep to someone who dwelt within that special house. In the parish of Tring, Hertfordshire, a chimney sweep named Thomas Colley was executed by hanging in 1751 for the drowning murder of Ruth Osborne, whom he accused of being a witch. Colley's spirit now haunts the site of the gibbet in the form of a black dog, and the clanking of his chains can also be heard. In one tale, a pair of men who encountered the dog saw a burst of flame before it appeared in front of him, big as a Newfoundland, with the usual burning eyes and long, sharp teeth. After a few minutes, it disappeared, either vanishing like a shadow or sinking into the earth. In Norfolk, Suffolk, Lincolnshire and northern parts of Essex, A black dog known as Black Shuck, also Old Shuck or Shock, is regarded as malevolent, with stories ranging from terrifying people or killing them outright to being a portent of death to themselves or a person close to the victim. There are tales that in 1577 it attacked the church in the market town of Bungay, killing 2 people and appearing on the same day at the church in the nearby village of Blytheborough, taking the lives of another 3 and leaving claw marks which remain today. In the parish of Overstrand is a lane known as Shuck's Lane from its frequent appearances there. According to urban legend, if the spot where it was just seen is examined, then one may find scorch marks and the smell of brimstone. There are also less common tales of a similar dog said to accompany people on their way home in the role of a protector rather than an omen of misfortune. Among other possible meanings, the name Shuck is derived from a provincial word meaning shaggy. In Westmoreland and adjacent parts of Yorkshire, there was a belief in Capelthwaite, who could take the form of any quadruped but usually appeared as a large black dog. He took his name from the barn in which he lived called Capelthwaite Barn near Milnthorpe. He performed helpful services for people on the farm such as rounding up the sheep, but towards outsiders he was very spiteful and mischievous until one day he was banished by a vicar. As both a helper and trickster, the Capelthwaite behaved more like a domestic hobgoblin than a typical black dog. The church grim guards a local Christian church and its attached churchyard from those who could profane them, including thieves, vandals, witches and warlocks. For this purpose, it was the custom to bury a dog alive under the cornerstone of a church as a foundation sacrifice. Sometimes the grill will toll bells at midnight before a death occurs. At funerals, the presiding clergyman may see the dog looking out from the church tower and determine from its aspect whether the soul of the departed was bound for heaven or hell. Another tradition states that when a new churchyard was opened, the first man buried there had to guard it against the devil. To save a human soul from such a duty, a black dog was buried in the north part of the churchyard as a substitute. The area surrounding St. Germans is haunted by a pack of hunting dogs known as Dando's dogs. Dando was an unrepentantly sinful priest and an avid huntsman who was carried off to hell by the devil for his wickedness. Since then, Dando and his hounds are sometimes heard in a wild chase across the countryside, especially on Sunday mornings. The Devil's Dandy dogs are another Cornish version of the wild hunt. They are often conflated with Dando's dogs but are much more dangerous. The huntsman is the devil himself, and his dogs are not just ghosts but true hellhounds, black in colour with horns and fiery breath. One night, a herdsman was journeying home across the moors and would have been overtaken by the dandy dogs, but when he knelt and began praying, they went off in another direction in pursuit of their prey. Gabriel hounds are dogs with human heads that fly high through the air and are often heard but seldom seen. They sometimes hover over a house, and this is taken as a sign that death or misfortune will befall those who dwell within. They are also known as Gabriel Ratchets, Gabble Ratchets, and Sky Yelpers, and like Yeth hounds, are sometimes said to be the souls of unbaptized children. Popular conceptions of the Gabriel hounds may be being partially based on migrating flocks of wild geese when they fly at night with loud honking. In other traditions, their leader Gabriel is condemned to follow his hounds at night for the sin of having hunted on a Sunday, much like the Cornish Dando, and their yelping cry is regarded as a death omen similar to the birds of folklore known as the Seven Whistlers. Guardian black dogs refer to those relatively rare black dogs that are neither omens of death nor causes of it. Instead, they guide lost travellers and protected them from danger. Stories of this type became more widespread starting around the early 1900s. In different versions of one popular tale, a man was journeying along a lonely forest road at night when a large black dog appeared at his side and remained there until the man left the forest. On his return journey through the wood, the dog reappeared and did the same as before. Years later, 2 convicted prisoners told the chaplain that they had robbed and murdered the wayfarer in the forest that night, but they were intimidated by the presence of the black dog. The Gert dog of Somerset is an example of a benevolent dog. It is said that mothers would allow their children to play unsupervised on Quantock Hills because they believed the Gert dog would protect them. It would also accompany lone travellers in the area, acting as a protector and guide. The Gytrash is a black dog and death omen of northern England that haunts solitary ways and also takes the form of a horse, mule, and cow. It was popularised in folklore by its mention in the novel Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. There are many types of ghostly black dogs in Lincolnshire collected by Ethel Rudkin for her 1938 publication Folklore. Such a creature, known locally as Hairy Jack, is said to haunt the fields and village lanes around Hemswell, and there have been reported sightings throughout the county from Bake to Spalding. Rudkin, who claimed to have seen Hairy Jack herself, formed the impression that black dogs in Lincolnshire were mainly of a gentle nature and looked upon as a natural protector. Hairy Jack was also said to haunt lonely plantations, byways and waste places where it attacked anyone passing by. In the Isle of Man is the legend of Muddy Goo. It is said to haunt the environs of Peel Castle. People believe that anyone who sees the dog will die soon after the encounter with the dog. It is mentioned by Sir Walter Scott in The Lay of the Last Minstrel. In Wakefield, Leeds, Pudsey and some areas of Bradford, the local version of the legend is known as Padfoot. A death omen like others of its type, it may become visible or invisible and exhibits certain characteristics that give its name. It is known to follow people with a light padding sound of its paws, then appearing again in front of them or at their side. It can utter a roar unlike the voice of any known animal, and sometimes the trailing of a chain can be heard along with the pad of its feet. It is best to leave the creature alone, for if a person tries to speak to or attacks it, then will have power over them. One story tells of a man who tried to kick the padfoot and found himself dragged by it through hedge and ditch all the way to his home and left under his window. Although usually described as black, another tale concerns a man who encountered a white padfoot. He attempted to strike it with his stick, but it passed completely through and he ran home in fear. Soon afterward, he fell sick and died. The skriker or shrieker of Lancashire and Yorkshire is a death omen like many other of its type, but it also wanders invisibly in the woods at night, uttering loud, piercing shrieks. It may also take a visible form as a large black dog with enormous paws that makes a splashing sound when walking, like old shoes walking in soft mud. For this reason, the skriker is also known as trash, another word for strudge or slog. The name skriker is also derived from a dialect word for screech in reference to its frightful utterances. The hound or yellhound is a black dog found in Devon folklore. According to Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable, the hound is a headless dog said to be the spirit of an unbaptized child that rambles through the woods at night making wailing noises. It also is mentioned in the Denham Tracts, a 19th century collection of folklore by Michael Denham. It may have been one inspiration for the ghost dog in The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, described as an enormous coal-black hound, but not such a hound as mortal eyes have ever seen, with fire in his eyes and breath. The wished or wish hounds are a related phenomenon, and some folklorists regard them as identical to the hounds. Wistman's Woods on Dartmoor in southern Devon is said to be the home of the wished hounds as they make their hunting forays across the moor. The road known as the Abbot's Way and the Valley of Durstone are favourite haunts of the hounds. Their huntsman is presumably the devil, and is said that any dog that hears the crying of the hounds will die. One legend states that the ghost of Sir Francis Drake sometimes drove a black hearse coach on the road between Tavistock and Plymouth at night, drawn by headless horses and accompanied by demons and a pack of headless, yelping hounds. Charles Hardwick notes that black coach legends are relatively modernised versions of wild hunt and furious host traditions. Robert Hunt further defines wish or wished as a common term for that weird sorrow which is associated with mysterious causes. Though English, black dog folklore has spread to other parts of the British Isles. In Scotland, the muckle black tyke is a black dog that presides at the witches' sabbath and is supposed to be the devil himself, whilst near the village of Mirthley is a standing stone, and it is said to be the person brave enough to move it will find a chest guarded by a black dog. Other British examples of spectral or supernatural dogs exist which fulfil the broader hellhound archetype and which may have been influenced the black dog folklore, but which are not themselves black dogs. These include fairy hounds such as the Welsh Kim Anwen, connected to the otherworld realm of Anwen and referred to in the 4 branches of the Mabinogi and elsewhere, which are described as dazzling white hounds. The Cusith of the Scottish Highlands is a dark green in colour and the size of a stirk, a yearling calf. They were usually kept tied up in a bro as watchdogs, and sometimes they accompanied the women during their expeditions or allowed to roam about alone, making their lairs among the rocks. They moved silently, had large paws the size of adult human hands, and had a loud baying sound that could be heard far out at sea. It is said that anyone who heard them bark 3 times was overcome with terror and died of fear. The dogs belonging to the fairy Shin or Manx fairies can be found in a wide variety of colours. They are sometimes described as white and wearing red caps, or may be found in all colours of the rainbow. Variations of the hellhound are known throughout world mythology and folklore, some of which may have been influenced or have influenced by the English black dog. The earliest known report of a black dog was in France in AD 856, when one was said to materialise in a church even though the doors were shut. The church grew dark as it padded up and down the aisles as if looking for someone. The dog then vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. On mainland Normandy, the Ranger d'Eau wanders the streets of Bayeux on winter nights as a phantom dog, gnawing on bones and dragging chains along with it. Oud Road Ongen, or Old Red Eyes, or the Beast of Flanders, was a spirit reported in Belgium in the 18th century who would take the form of a large black dog with fiery red eyes. In Wallonia, the southern region of Belgium, folk tales mentioned a hellish dog bound with a long chain that was thought to roam in the fields at night. In Germany and the Czech lands, it was said that the devil would appear in the form of a large black dog. According to Catholic legend, a black dog attempted to steal Italian mystic Benedetta Carlini when she was a child in the 17th century, but her screams frightened him away. By the time her mother arrived, the dog had disappeared, and Benedetta and her parents interpreted this incident as the work of a devil disguised as an animal. Black dog folklore likely spread with the English diaspora after the colonising of America. The legend of a small black dog has persisted in Meriden, Connecticut since the 19th century. The dog is said to haunt the Hanging Hills, a series of rock ridges and gorges that serve as a popular recreation area. The first non-local account came from W.H.C. Pynchon in the Connecticut Quarterly, in which it is described as a death omen. It is said that if you meet the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow, and the 3rd time will bring death. A New England black dog tale comes from the southeastern Massachusetts in the area known by some as the Bridgewater Triangle. In the mid-1970s, the town of Abington was reportedly terrorised by a large black dog that caused a panic. A local fireman saw it attacking horses. Local police unsuccessfully searched for it. At first, they didn't see the black dog, but eventually, a police officer sighted the dog walking along train tracks and shot at it. Apparently, the bullets had no effect on the animal and it walked off, never to be seen again. In the South Jersey Pine Barrens, there is a local legend told by Pine Barren residents describing a ghostly black dog that is said to roam the beaches and pine forests in the area roughly from Absecon Island to Barnegat Bay. Unlike most British or Germanic black dog legends, the black dog of the Pine Barrens is generally considered a harmless or even benevolent spirit. According to folklore, pirates on Absecon Island attacked a ship and killed its crew. Among those killed were the cabin boy and his black dog, and the spirit of this black dog supposedly roams the beaches and pines searching for his owner. From sparsely populated central Delaware comes the myth of the fence rail dog, said to be a ghost that is as tall as a fence and races cars along Route 12 but is homely harmless. There are 3 variants of the myth. One is that the ghost of a cornered outlaw who committed suicide. Another is that of a slave killed by his master and looking for a place to be buried, while a third says that it is that of a dog murdered along with its owner and looks to avenge both of them. In the rural backroads of upstate South Carolina dwells another frequent spotting site of a black dog haunting travellers. The ghost town of Gosham Hill is said to aggressively prowl the old Buncombe Road near Sumter National Forest. Legend claims his master had been unjustly killed for a crime. In the lore of long-haul truckers, seeing a black dog with red eyes in your peripheral vision is a sign of a fatal crash being imminent, and that you should pull over immediately. Some think the dog is just the eyes beginning to subconsciously close, causing a black spot in the corner of the eye.
If you like that, then check out our Patreon, where for just $5 a month you get access to exclusive shows like Real Monsters and Playing with Bones with Amy Rose, along with early access to all our minisodes and ad-free access to the Weekend Update and It's Alive! Not convinced yet? Well, head on over now and have 7 days on us. That's a 7-day free trial for all new members. That's It's Alive Pod on Patreon. It's Alive! All the guts and go with none of the guilt. See you on Wednesdays, unless you're on Patreon when you get us all week long.